In the 20th century, authoritarian regimes rose to power not only through violence, but also through controlling speech and deciding individuals' freedom, determining what people were allowed to say and silencing those who had differing opinions. Nearly a century later, and debates over censorship and free expression are once again shaping our society. The pendulum seems to be swinging, in which restrictions on speech are being attacked from both sides of the spectrum. Freedom, as defined politically, states the right to speak or act without restriction, interference, or fear. Yet today, organizations, governments, and platforms increasingly decide what kinds of speech are acceptable. Recently, debates around free speech have intensified, with critics arguing that some media platforms or institutions are trying to silence opposing voices, which some have linked to rising authoritarian tendencies. This robust tension shows that censorship can emerge across the political spectrum. Sociologically, this matters because speech is not just individual, as it shapes collective values, solidarity, and ultimately, power. So, how do actions like this impact today's society? On one hand, restricting harmful, hateful, or highly controversial speech can protect groups in society that are seen as more vulnerable than others. It also has the potential to possibly reduce misinformation or extreme biases and prevent violence from occurring. On the other hand, silencing certain views could lead to suppression of legitimate debate, create polarization, and even risk authoritarian control, where one group decides what truth is according to its own worldview.
He was a significant and controversial figure in US politics, who became the latest victim of political violence in this country.
More recent events, such as the controversy surrounding the Kirk assassination, highlight how contested this issue of suppressed freedom truly is. The Politico article discusses the tragic assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk in Utah, highlighting the alarming rise of political violence in the US. It underscores how such acts have become disturbingly common, with both major political parties being targeted. A figure like former Congresswoman Gabby Giffords, who has herself been a victim of a politically motivated attack, has condemned this violence and called for a return to civil discourse. This article paints a grim picture of a new normal, where extremism and deep polarization threaten the fabric of democracy. So, supporters of suppression argue that it stops dangerous ideologies from spreading, and critics argue that it's proof of a narrowing space for debate and expressional freedom. Just as propaganda and censorship were central tools in authoritarian regimes of the past, today, those echoes still remain. This can connect directly to the Industrial Revolution, where rapid advances in communication technology were able to spread new ideas and voices quickly, ranging from workers' rights to political revolts. Governments often stepped in with censorship or suppression of radical voices. Similarly, today's digital platforms make it far easier to amplify speech not only nationally but internationally, while institutions find it increasingly challenging to regulate or restrict what spreads online. Both moments reveal the same pattern. Technological innovation reshapes who and what controls information. Linking this concept to Gramsci's concept of cultural hegemony, which exemplifies how power is maintained through not only force, but also through shaping cultural norms and values. When media platforms or institutions decide what speech is acceptable, they are directly exercising cultural power and defining the boundaries of debate and influencing what society comes to see as common sense freedom. Conclusively, democracy is changing in ways that have not been seen in decades. Throughout history, societies have always debated the limits of free expression, from the censorship of political dissidents to the growing regulation of online discussions today. The challenge has always remained the same. How do you balance the protection of society with the protection of individual rights? This ongoing struggle highlights how power, culture, and institutions mold the boundaries of freedom and what is ultimately allowed in current society.